Okay. Chodesh. And we are on to the test Amud Aleph. Right? Okay, so as we mentioned at the end of yesterday's class, we're going to get into the Gemara and discuss how long the Messianic era lasts. How long does it last for? Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say, when the Gemara says how long the Messianic era lasts, it means until the era known as Olam Habah. We've discussed this a few times, that there are two stages in the when we discussed the 7 millennia, and with the 6th millennia, the 7th millennia, when things start. And generally speaking, there are two stages. There's the Messianic era, which is described as the perfected state of our natural world. Generally speaking, what that is, even though as we'll see soon, it might be a little different, but let's just stick with that for now. And then after that, there's the stage known as Olam Habah, the world to come, which is the world of resurrection of the dead. Or in the Rambam's view, it's even further. It's resurrection and then souls without bodies, meaning the true Olam Habah, as he would say it. At any rate, so when the Gemara says, it would seem obvious. I think I hadn't seen any commentary say this, but it would seem obvious to me that when the Gemara discusses here how long Mashiach lasts, it means that first stage of the Messianic era and the perfected state of our world, and then progressing to the higher spiritual states, resurrection, and then the post-resurrection world, in either the Ramban or the Rambam's view, depending on which way you go, whether it's souls in bodies or souls without body. Okay, so how long does the Messianic era last? Says the Gemara like this: Tanya, it's the 6th line from the top of the page. Tzaddik Tes Amud Aleph 99a. Tanya, we've been taught in a Mishnaic age text. The Belezer says, Yemoisa Mashiach, the era of this Messianic era that we're talking about, is Arbayim Shana, lasts 40 years. Shinemar, as the verse reads, Arbayim Shana Akud Badar, for 40 generations you'll be positioned, or be led, as Rashi puts it in different translations, for 40 years. Arbayim Shana Akud Badar, in a generation. As if to say there's a generation that's 40 years, and that's like this perfect generation of Hashem's position and leadership. So that's Rabbi Lezer's position. Rabbi Lezer ben Azariah, Lezer, son of Azariah, says, Eliezer with a Yud, and then Elazar ben Azariah without the Yud, and it's son of Azariah. Shivim Shana, it lasts 70 years. Shenemar, as the verse says, V'haya b'yamahu, will be on that day. This is in Isaiah. V'nishkach tatzor, and you will forget. In the pasuk, it's that above. In the quote from the pasuk on the right, Nishkach tatzor, you'll forget Tzor. Tzor is a city. Tyre it's in Lebanon, right? Shivim Shana, Kimei Melech Echad. You will forget the city of Tyre, meaning symbolizing exile, place living outside of your homeland. You'll forget that place in the span of 70 years. Kimei Melech Echad, like the days of one king. In other words, like a king, and ordinarily a king lasts for 70 years. But the Gemara is reading the verse, one king, not Echad, but rather a unique, as in Yachid, or Miyuchad. So the Gemara therefore comments, Eze Melech Miyuchad, who's the unique king? This one singular king, that's 70 years. I would say Mashiach, this is Mashiach. That's telling us that the Messianic kingdom lasts for 70 years. Opinion number 2, 40 years, 70 years. Rabbi says, Shloish Adoros is 3 generations. Shenemar, as the verse reads, it's a pasuk in Tilim, Yira'ucha im shemesh, you will be seen with the sun, as in this bright, shining light of perfection and beauty, V'lefnei yareach, and before the moon, poetic language to describe our state of glory, Dar Darim, for generation on generations. So Dar is one generation, Dardim is generations plural, Miut, Miut Rabim Shnayim, the smallest number of plural is 2. So Dar is one generation, Dardim generations, totaling 3. So this is the third opinion. 40 years, 70 years, or 3 generations. Rabbi Hillel says, doesn't qualify how long a generation is. Actually quotes verses that talk about how the sun and the moon mean Mashiach. But how long is generation? Doesn't say here. I think colloquially they say generation is 20 years, right?
I thought 40.
40?
I thought.
No, it could be right. I have no idea. I'm just thinking of, okay. Yeah, it could be. I have no idea. 3 generations, whatever that is. Okay.
120 years. 3 generations.
Right.
40, 70, 120.
Yeah. And then finally, the last opinion, Rabbi Hillel says, "Ein la Mashiach l'Yisrael." There is no messianic era for the Jewish people. It's done. They already used it up in the time of Chizkiah. We actually had this quote before earlier, that in Chizkiah's time was a time when Mashiach could have come, and we had the opinion which said that Mashiach was here, and that was it. Now, the Gemara is about to tell us that this is a strange position to have, but before we can get to that, if we're correct in saying that when the Gemara is discussing how long you Moshe Mashiach here, it's talk. Oh, Yosef, how are you? Look good.
How are you feeling?
A little better.
Better.
Look good. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
If we are to say that when the Gemara discusses how long the Messianic era is, it's in the context of the Messianic era specifically, and then from there we go into the next era known as the world to come, the post-resurrection time, then maybe Hillel is saying the Messianic era is done. We're going to go straight to the resurrection. Not to say that there's no redemption, but that we're going to go straight to the higher level. And if that's the case, then Hillel is actually saying a nice thing. We won't have to go through the process of the Messianic era. We'll go straight to the top.
Where the Rashi explains that Hashem will do it himself.
Sorry?
Or it can be still 2 stages where Hashem will do the first stage himself.
Yeah, I know. Look, Yimlech Ba'atzma V'Gol Mevada, as if to say, well,
he'll take the Jews out of the exile and build a temple.
Right, without going through the process of the Messianic era time, which is the slow halachic, normal, natural progression, right?
It would still be slow. We don't know how long.
Or how long it takes you to know. But it's not the.
But it won't be done by man.
Yeah, it's not done. It's not done the normal Messianic halachic way in which a person arrives, becomes the king, etc., etc.
We bypass the whole thing.
So, which means actually, in such a way, it's possible it could be actually a plus that we skip the whole natural order and go straight to this miraculous Messianic era. Either that's good or that's not good. We don't know. Let's hope that it's good. But at any rate, the Gemara says it's a strange position. Why? Rav Yosef says, Rab Hillel. Let the master, God, forgive Hillel for taking this position. In other words, Rav Yosef is saying it's such a, I don't want to use the word outrageous, but it's such a far-fetched position that let God forgive him for taking it. Which is an unusual statement to be said. No, usually it's said as like, there seems to be a contradiction, or we need to reconcile this with something else. But Rabbi Yosef is going straight to like, this is, I don't know where he's getting this from. This is
almost like borderline heretical.
Yeah, he's asking God for forgiveness
for
this position. It's like, I don't know, which Hillel is this anyway? I don't think it's Hillel the elder. Because Hillel is out of Yud, and it wouldn't be produced with Reb. It would be either Hillel Azakan or just Hillel. Reb Hillel, meaning I don't even know if it's part of the Mishnaic text of the previous thing. It could be the much later Hillel. At least that's what it would seem to me. And that's why Rabbi Yosef can take this position against him.
It's like being condemned to Galus.
Yeah, it's like God forgive you.
Yeah. You think we're always going to be in Galus, never get out of it?
No, we were redeemed. But the question done by Hashem or by the...
Skipping the Messianic era, going straight to the later era of...
But it's not denying the redemption.
Right, but let's just say it's not without the natural progression of the halachic Messianic era, but going straight to the miraculous place. Either that's good or that's not good, but it's going straight to the miraculous.
That's one view of it. Right?
That's Hillel's position. It seems that's Hillel.
What he's saying, but
it seems pretty clear from the context of where it's being placed. In other words, before the Gemara just said it as a standalone statement, which could be meant that it's just not happening. But in the context here, where the Gemara is talking specific about the Moshe Mashiach era, it seems clear that that's what he means. And I think that's what Rashi picks up the comment here.
Why would they say? Why would the other say, God forbid?
Because there's verses that
natural king. Yeah.
Right. So because of the verses.
You just had before the Kesar and the Pelagos.
Because of the verses, as we'll see, which indicate that there's actually going to be an actual king named Mashiach. In other words, right, which means like it's not just an issue of. That's what I was saying. It's not as if the Gemara says this seems to contradict the verses and we need to reconcile it. And Vesib makes as if like you ignoring these verses is like worthy of God forgiveness, Because it could be that he's just undermining the 13th principle, one of the 13 principles. One of the 13 principles is that Mashiach's coming, not just the resurrection of the dead, which is another one of the 13 principles, but the Messianic era, as in the restoration of the kingdom of David, etc., etc. And here you are undermining that. Maybe that's why it's so worthy of forgiveness. Yeah, we could try to reconcile Hillel's statement in that he's saying that God's going to bring Mashiach miraculously, and then he's going to install a king, so the prophecies are somehow going to be connected to the post-Messianic time, as opposed to the way we understand it as first there's the prophecies of the Messianic era, and then there's the post-Messianic time, whereas Hillel is saying that both go together. You could try to reconcile the stuff, but anyway. Amar Yosef says, Shadar Alei Lamare, let Hashem forgive Rabbi Hillel. Why? Because Hillel says that the Messianic time, meaning this king, this political leader known as Mashiach, who's going to lead the Jewish people and build a temple, etc., who Hillel said was taken in the Messianic era. Olam Habah. When did Chizkiah live? The Bais Rishon, towards the end of the first temple, not the actual last king, but towards the end. The last king certainly to have proper autonomy. The next king was installed temporarily, as the Gemara describes elsewhere. But Zechariah, the prophet, one of the prophets that described the Messianic era, Kamisnav Ba'isheni, is already prophesying in the Second Temple period, at the beginning of the Second Temple period, before and then going into the Second Temple period. So we have a prophecy post Chizkiah telling us Mashiach is going to come. So how could Hillel say that it's not going to happen, or that it already happened? Because Zechariah said, "Gili Ma'od Bas Zion, O daughter of Zion, rejoice very much. Hardi Bas Yerushalayim, O daughter of Jerusalem, sing, rejoice, sing, or sing and rejoice, or dance." Daughter of Jerusalem and daughter of Zion is the same thing, both referring to Jewish people. Hine Malkach Yavai, behold, your king is arriving. Lach for you, Tzaddik v'Noshahu, a righteous and a redeemer he is. Ani v'Reich v'Lachamor, a poor man riding on a donkey. Famous prophecy of Mashiach is coming, but clearly talking about a king that's arriving, not God miraculously changing the whole world, but a king that's arriving to restore the kingdom of David. Val'ir bas ben Osnas, he's a donkey, a poor man riding a donkey, and on a Ir bas Osnas is like a young donkey, son of a female donkey. It's a donkey son of a donkey. Okay. So this is that view. Have a good day.
So why is he saying all three at this point? I mean, I know those are the possibilities.
What do you mean all three?
Well, that he's the king riding on a donkey.
Oh, he's quoting the verse just to prove the fact. He's quoting the verse to prove the fact that the Messianic era hasn't happened yet, and that it could not have been done already in Chizkiah's time, because this verse comes after Chizkiah. That's all. That's what he's proving.
And also proves that it can't be by Hashem alone, because there's a king.
There is an extra, right, that's correct, which is why he could have quoted 1,000 other verses to describe the Messianic era, but all those things could have been talking about the post-Messianic era, the miraculous post-Messianic era of the resurrection. But here he quotes specifically a verse that describes a king. And also, to your point, riding on a donkey means it's in a natural, physical way. Right? As opposed to the riding on the clouds, but you could say that's God's miraculous thing. This is a natural order, and therefore ignoring that, says Rabbi Yosef, God should forgive Hillel for saying that it's not going to happen.
That way, it will be redeemed, but...
That's right. So, in other words, that's why I made this distinction between the miraculous post-Messianic era and the Messianic era of the natural progression towards the restoration of the kingdom of David, the building of the temple, etc., etc. And that, in this verse, is clearly described. Malkech, a king is arriving, riding on a donkey, implying, again, this natural human being arriving to restore the kingdom of David, as opposed to some godly, miraculous, supernatural experience, which Hillel says is happening anyway. The question is, the natural era of Mashiach before that. Okay, still some more views about how long the Messianic era lasts, and then we'll conclude with that. And then tomorrow we'll address a little bit. I mentioned yesterday there's at least one comment from the Rabbi on one of these opinions on the 70 years. There were comments on that. I found another comment where there were comments on the 3 generations view, and I think the comments there have an intrinsic connection, and then perhaps we'll be able to build from there, understanding the other views as to what this means when we say that the Mashiach lasts for 40 years, 70 years, 3 generations, or not at all.
And then other views later.
And other views, which we'll
larger number.
We'll get to that in a second, but
400.
God willing, tomorrow we'll actually explain all of these views based on those 2 comments from the Rabbi.
With different stages, agreement.
We'll see tomorrow, God willing. Okay, Tanya Yidach. We've learned in another Mishnaic age text, which gives us some of the same view, with different verses backing it up, and other views. Rabbi Eliezer says, it's the same Rabbi Eliezer did with Eliezer with a Yud before he said that it was 40 years because of the verse which says, that God's going to establish us in a generation of 40 years. And here he quotes another verse. Rabbi Eliezer says, that Mashiach is going to be for 40 years, this Messianic era, this halachic time of the King Mashiach, natural time, pre the resurrection and the miracles. And he quotes from a different verse. It says here, with respect to the Jews in the desert as they traveled, that it says a reference to God responding and reach to the Jewish people's need for food in the desert, and God fed them. How long did God feed them in the desert for? 40 years. And it says there, with respect to the Mashiach's coming in Tehillim, Samchenu kimois inisanu sherois ra'inu ra'a. Bring us joy like the days when we were hungry, meaning we were hungry in the desert and you fed us then. So rejoice us, or bring us joy for the same years that we were in the desert relying on you to feed us. Same thing, on the time when we saw bad and you saved us, so do that for us again. Thus implying that the next time God's going to feed us is going to match the time that God fed us the first time in the desert, 40 years. That is same view as the same Rabbi Eliezer, the same view, 40 years, but different verse backing it up. And perhaps even tomorrow we'll discuss what the distinction between these 2 verses are, the 2 sources. What's the difference, which source you come from? Perhaps.
And different methods of redemption.
And what that means exactly. This one implying that there's a miracle here too.
Yeah,
just giving you a little preview. Here it's implying there's a miracle, right? Because God fed us in the desert miraculously.
Right, but also through suffering. Yeah.
Suffering but miraculously, right? So we'll have to see what this means for Messianic era. We'll put a pin in that for now. We'll get to that tomorrow. Okay, Rabbi says another view. I don't know if this is Doisa, the father of Chanina. It would be interesting if it is. Just now, Chanina ben Doisa. Maybe this is his father. But anyway, Rabbi Doisa says, Daled Mei Shana. It's going to last for 400 years. Why? It says here, with respect to the time we suffered in Egypt, and God tells Avram Avinu that your children will be enslaved and they will be afflicted, they will be persecuted for 400 years. And it says there, with respect to Mashiach's coming, bring us joy at the time of our affliction. So where's Rabbi Eliezer said that the verse which says bring us joy like the time of our affliction is a reference to the 40 years that they were afflicted in the desert and fed by God with the man. Whereas here he says no, the joy of the years of our affliction in the time of Mashiach is talking about our affliction and persecution in Egypt. And there the verse says it's going to last for 400, that it didn't last for that long, but the affliction is going to last for 400 years. And thus when we say, please bring us joy like the time of our affliction, it's a reference to the 400 years that we suffered in Egypt, and thus 400 years for the Messianic era. So we have so far 70 years, 40 years, 3 generations, not at all, and now 300 years. 400 years, I'm sorry. And the 40 years, we have 2 different verses. Rabbi says, Gimel Meis, Veshishim in the morning, Veshishim v'chamei shana. 365 years. Why? Come on, you got to get this.
Days, of course, the days of the year.
Days of the year. Kiminyan Yemois Achama.
Negative.
365
Negative
commandments. We'll talk about that tomorrow, God willing. But 365 years corresponding to 365 days of the year. Shneimah, as the pasuk says, Ki yom nakam belibi, the day of revenge. We talked about it before, how the Messianic era is kind of like revenge, because Hashem, revenge as in justice. Avenge as in God sets things straight. So the day of my vengeance, the day of when I'm setting things straight, Messianic era, belibi is in my heart, as if to say God's not revealing it to anybody else when it's happening. The shnas gu'ulei ba, and the year of my redemption is coming. The verse thus compares a day and a year in one sentence, referring to the same thing. Ma yom naka belibi.
Not mentioning about the lave.
Sorry?
It's not talking about the years, it's talking about just the idea of the lave.
What?
Yeah, specific. No, okay. The next comment is about the live. You're right.
This is a different
Yeah, right. Okay. So let's stop over here then, because we have ending here. The verse compares day and year, both referring to the same thing. God, the day of vengeance and the year of redemption, is if the day and the year are the same. And therefore, if we have 1 year, and the year is the same of day, and we have a full year of years, that would make 365 years. Because if each day is a year, and you have a full year, we're talking 365 years. So God willing, tomorrow we'll address what is the meaning of this and why they're pulling these numbers out and what is the significance of all these numbers. 40 years, 70 years, 3 generations, none at all, 400 years, or 365 years, and the 40 years having 2 different verses. God willing, all that tomorrow. Chodesh Tov, and a wonderful day.